This is our first podcast. It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
And we're calling it Fine-Tuned Females.
Fine-tuned females.
Because you're fine.
And you're tuned.
And we're both female.
I think.
I'm tuned and I'm toned.
Have you checked lately?
If I'm tuned, toned, or fine?
Female.
Yeah, about an hour ago.
Good.
Things can change, though.
I
The
know.
estrogen levels can definitely change.
Especially at this point.
Actually, from when I last checked, my estrogen levels, I think, dropped like another few levels.
That's
So
nice.
I might be turning into a man right now.
You might be, or you might just be running on empty. Right?
So let's tell everyone who's listening and watching what this show is going to be all about.
Right. What's it going to be about?
It's going to be about fine-tuning our lives as females. We've made it through our 40s. We're now in our 50s. We have a lot of advice to give.
Should we be revealing that?
I think we should reveal our secrets.
Can't we lie a little bit? Lying is so good. It's less painful.
It's true. It's true. But I think we're going to be here telling everybody the truth on what we do and what we're looking for because, we're also learning. I mean, we're experts in our field. So, you are my fashion guru.
Yeah, and you're my fitness guru.
Right.
Health and fitness.
Health, fitness, and then you're my fashion and beauty guru. So we'll share everything that we know, but then we'll bring on some great guests later on that can help educate us and the audience as well.
Yeah, there's so much to learn still.
Oh my God, is there ever? Especially in anti-aging. That's like my obsession lately.
And I know, and there's so much progress being made in that field. It's just, stem cells and all sorts of things that are coming down the pike that are so exciting.
And fasting, which you don't want to know anything about.
Oh my God, fasting is my ferocity of the F word.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, the ultimate F word to it, Tata, is
Fasting.
Is fasting.
I
which
am definitely a foodie with a capital F.
Well, I do some fasting. I do intermittent fasting now, and I just came off of a 2-day fast where I ate some fasting mimicking food, but we'll save that for another topic. But I think everyone might want to know why I'm calling you Tata.
Yeah, that's true. Let's wind back and talk about why we call each other what we call each other and how we met.
Okay, so if you hear me refer to Anita as Tata, it's because I didn't know that people in Canada pronounce the ta, so we put the emphasis on ta, because in New
Instead of
York,
da.
in New York we say Anita.
I know.
Anita.
Just sounds so needy.
I just met a girl named Anita.
You know what? I call myself Anita. It just, it grows on you to be Anita, but I don't want to be Aneeded.
Yeah. So I heard your husband call you Anita one day, and I'm like, oh, it's Anita. And I had already known you like 7 years.
Yeah, my mother would always emphasize that. If I said, somebody said Anita, she'd go, excuse me, it's Anita.
Yes. So I did not realize this, and that's why I now call you Tata,
Well, there
so I
you
remember
go.
to pronounce the ta.
Tata is so much easier to remember.
Yeah, and I'm just Jilly Bean because that was my nickname when I was a kid.
I love Jilly Bean because, you're a hardcore chick. You work out really hard. You're very dedicated, very disciplined, and Jilly Bean just sort of softens it up. It makes you a little bit more playful and fun, even though you are, granted. I just think it just sounds silly and fun and cute.
I'm the bitchy one in this little
You're kind of a bitch.
duo. But I'm also stringy like a bean.
Right. And I'm a little bit of an ice queen, which I've been named.
Yes,
So,
I noticed that the first time I met you.
Right.
And how did we meet? Well, I had just come off my second spine surgery, so I have something called spinal stenosis, which everyone gets after 60 or 65, but not everybody gets in their 30s. If you get it at the age that I got it at, it means that you have the genetic predisposition. So when I did my 23andMe genetic report, and then I ran all my all those genetic codes, I found out that I have this particular vitamin D deficiency gene, and then this particular version of the vitamin D deficient gene also leads to spinal stenosis. So, it was kind of in the cards for me.
So why don't you explain a little bit about what 23andMe is about for people that might not be aware of it?
Well, as of yet, since it's only our first show, 23andMe is not yet a sponsor. So I can, I think everyone's seen it now because I think they sell it at Costco. You just spit into a tube and you send it in and it gives you your, you can just find out where your family's from. So you can just use it for like tracing your ancestors, but you can also use it like ancestry.com, or you can also use it to find your genetic codes and find out if you have a lot of BRCA1, BRCA2 for cancer, APO3, APO4 for Alzheimer's.
But if you're not like medically inclined, would you even understand that lingo?
Yeah. Well, they explain it to you. It's
Okay.
it's pretty much for everybody. It's
Right.
like $150 or something. I
Wow.
even saw it at Target
Wow.
the other day.
Target.
Yes, you could go pick up your kit for 23andMe.
Wow.
But I'm obsessed. I like to do as much biohacking as possible. So I was checking out my genes and I found some really interesting stuff, like just really cool things. And I've been scratching. Because I thought I had fleas, but it turns out that I get tons of mosquito bites.
Well, they're
And
very attracted to you for sure.
yes, I
Yeah.
have that protein enzyme in my blood that
Right.
really attracts mosquitoes, and they get really infected. And then I found on 23andMe that I actually have a gene that makes mosquitoes love me more, and my mosquito bites actually itch more than the average person.
You have got to be, your blood has to be their crack. I mean, you just get so many bites.
Well, it's like a genetic thing, yeah. So that's why I'm wearing long pants today.
Wow. Yeah, I know you scar easily from those too, and it's hard to get rid of the scars. It's
Yeah.
a lot more complex than it sounds. It's not just a mosquito bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to my spine, I also, I'm a hot fucking mess with, now that I know my genetic codes, it's just a disaster. Not really that bad. It could be way worse, obviously. It's not really anything crazy, but spinal stenosis, everybody gets at some point. But as someone who's a fitness trainer and likes to work out really hard, I had to really adjust certain things in my life. And when I met you, I was just coming off my second spine surgery, and I was dating this guy who, I won't mention my name, but he's a heart surgeon. And then he went into like vascular stuff for his second part of his career. And he was just so annoying. So I was sitting there. We had just ate at La Pan. How do you say it? La Pan Quotidien?
Oh,
I butchered the French
Le
stuff.
pain quotidien,
Yeah, that place.
not La Pan.
La Pan Quotidien.
Escargots.
Yeah. So I was eating at La Pan Quotidien. And then we went to the car wash and nearby, and I was sitting at the car wash, and I see this guy walk by. He looks, for anyone who's never seen your husband, which is nobody probably watching this show, he looks a little bit like Bobby Cannavale, don't you think?
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. I'll show you later.
Okay.
He's that actor. He was the guy. He was in that Blue Jasmine movie you really like.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every time I see Bobby,
hot guy.
Yes, every time I
Yes.
see Bobby Cannavale, he reminds me of. I think
really?
of Ben
That's so
every
crazy.
time.
Oh
And I'm
my
watching
God.
that show Homecoming too.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so now we're dating ourselves. So if I just watched season 1 of Homecoming. Anyway, so your husband walks by and he's got this Burberry bag with this little tiny pooey dog in there.
Yeah,
A
right.
poo-poo dog.
Right.
Not poo as in out of the butt poo, but I mean,
Was that Sammy?
yes, it was Sammy.
Okay.
It was just so cute.
Yeah.
So anything to
Your little
not
cockapoo.
cockapoo Sammy. So anything to not talk to my boyfriend at the time.
You diverted.
Yeah, anything to like just distract me from that guy. I start petting and talking to your husband, and then as we're chatting, he notices my arms, and he's like, "Oh, are you a trainer?" And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, yes, I am, because my wife's looking for a trainer."
True.
And I said, "Oh, her? And I can't help her.
That ice queen. That block of ice standing over there.
She is beyond my capabilities. I've got 20 years experience, but that I can't do anything with." Because you were perfect. You didn't need any
Oh,
work.
I hope that's what you mean.
That's what I mean. So
I remember seeing you there at the car
Yeah,
wash.
So, and I was miserable because I was on painkillers, mostly because of my boyfriend.
I know.
I actually wasn't in pain. I was just trying to avoid him.
That's why you took the painkillers.
I'm not even kidding. That is exactly why. Because the pain I could tolerate, but the boyfriend I couldn't.
Oh my God, that's a real sweet escape.
Totally true. I told him the same thing also. So so that's how we met. So
That's how we met.
So your husband said my wife needs a trainer,
My husband sold me to you and sold you to me. He was a negotiator in this deal.
and 11 years later,
Voila.
we're doing a podcast
Well, here we are.
as fine-tuned females,
Fine-tuned
helping
females.
each other out. So
Exactly.
that's the backstory, as long as it was.
Wow, that was really cool. And time goes so fast. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So what did we want to talk about for our first
Well,
topic of discussion?
Jilly Bean, do you feel like, that you look around you and you kind of envy people that you think have it better? Like, do you feel that the grass is greener for other people? How do you feel about that? Do you compare ourselves to that? Do you find that we do that? And is it healthy to do that? Is it something natural?
I wrote a blog post with a graphic that I used on Instagram that says comparison is the thief of happiness. And that has been my biggest problem my whole life because my grandparents, I loved them. And my mom, who we will talk several episodes about, my crazy mom, who's passed on now, so she doesn't mind. But yeah, so childhood was not that fun for me in a lot of ways because I was constantly compared to everybody. Well, she's doing that. Why can't you do that? And he did that. Why can't you do
No,
that?
I hated that.
Yeah. So it was constantly like, well, if they can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
Now, sometimes it works because so the only upside is occasionally when, let's say, I want to learn how to do a podcast, or if I want to learn how to do something technical or an exercise or whatever, just learn something new. I'll look at someone that doesn't look all that bright or all that talented. And I go, well, if that person can do it, then so can I.
Oh, yeah, the old adage, eh?
Yeah, so that's the positive
Right.
side. But then the negative side is I definitely do it way too much.
Yeah, no, I feel that, I mean, we can often feel down about our own lives because we're so focused on somebody else that we think has a much better life than us. And in fact, we're not really in their life to be able to tell that. And often we judge that by either how they look or what they're doing for a living or how put together they seem. And it puts a lot of pressure on us because we already have so much pressure today,
Yeah.
especially being women. And it's so hard to compete with everything and maintain everything. I mean, I feel you have to put a lot more effort. And I don't mean to sound feminist about this, but I find guys have it much easier.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
sure.
just us traveling for a weekend, it's such a whole ordeal with all our products that we have to bring with us.
Oh,
and
wait, yeah, remind me.
bras and underwear and what goes with this and what goes with that. And
Are you
heel
saying you're
heights.
high maintenance?
Oh, yeah.
It takes you longer to pack than the trip itself.
This isn't natural and
You go-
easy. I mean, it's natural, but it's not easy.
You go on a weekend trip and then you're packing for the 5 days before the 2-day trip.
I need a month notice for 2-day weekends.
Yeah.
It's not just that. You got to organize your household. You got to make sure everything's running in the home, and because you're older now. You have so many assets and things to manage. It's just not even your job, let alone your job. You get home, it's another job.
Yeah. I agree.
And and so some people, like, I think sometimes I envy, or I feel down that I feel like I don't have it all together, and some people, they seem to have it all together. They're so efficient and organized.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know.
Time management is a big problem for
Yeah.
me. Every time I put something on my calendar and I say, this is going to take me 2 hours, I'm going to schedule 2 hours for writing this blog post.
Right.
4 hours later, I'm still editing. And then on the 5th hour, I might say, all right, I think I'm ready to post. Oh, wait, let me go back and check for typos. Oh, shoot, this picture could be better, or that picture's not showing. Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible with time management because everything takes me longer than I think.
And I get down on myself about that. That's when
Me
I start
too.
to call myself a failure. Like, I can't believe you can't do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
because I have friends, and so do you. It's like, how do they do everything? How do they run a business, run their household? They have, a needy husband. They've got 1 or 2 kids, and then they still look great, and then they still find some time to work out,
Yeah,
and maybe
how do
cook
they always
something
have
cool.
like that perfect manicure and
don't
everything's like flawless, or it appears to be, and they look so held together? And I'm freaking out because I've just got to go somewhere for 2 days and I got to juggle everything, and I find it really difficult.
Yeah, I
And
have a
think
friend
as you
like
get
that.
older, you lose patience with things. When you're not sleeping well, you get sleep deprived, you get grumpy. It really affects your day.
Yeah.
And then you become less productive, So I think it's like I don't know if I compare myself to other people that have more than me at this stage of my life, because I'm content with what I have.
Yeah.
I don't really need more. I think I have what I want, and doesn't necessarily make you happier. Sometimes it just makes your life more complex.
I was going to say that. More stuff won't make you happy.
No. So I don't, I think that's a younger age group, but I do feel like keeping up with everything is difficult.
Oh, fuck those millennials, man.
Yeah.
Actually, the millennials are actually pretty cool. I work with a lot of millennials. They take my classes because I teach fitness classes at Equinox. So I have a lot of like 20-somethings and 30-somethings, and they look up to me, which is pretty cool. But I find a lot of them, the new thing in stuff is not collecting material things, but collecting experiences.
Yeah.
So everyone wants experiences, which is what I think is really cool, because that's what I wanted as a millennial too, but I didn't have the means to like just pick up and travel whenever I wanted. I did what I could.
Right. I mean, when we were growing up, either your parents had to work and raise a family, and it was a much more materialistic society in a way that we wanted to have all this big stuff, big homes, fancy cars, great vacations, and everything mattered. What do you have, Christophe or your Crystal or or Limoges, and
Okay,
your
that wasn't exactly my childhood,
well,
but go ahead
no,
with
I'm not
yours.
saying that wasn't my childhood either, but I'm saying it was the aspirational thing because
Yeah.
everything in entertainment and everything was surrounded by, you have to get all these things. And I think millennials today, they just want the experience. They want to go on a camping trip somewhere.
Yes.
They're a little bit more bohemian in a modern way where they're less materialistic and they don't really want a big house and they want an Uber. They don't want a car.
Yeah.
They don't want to have all these things that own them.
Yeah, I was really into the bohemian thing too, but mostly that was because I didn't want to keep wanting things that I couldn't afford or couldn't have.
Right.
So I kind of made myself bohemian. So I get it. I mean, but I would have loved to have been more materialistic growing up in Queens. I don't
think
hoping not to get mugged.
I'm not trying to segment that everybody was that way. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it was a big power. The 80s were all about power and
Yeah.
being successful and being on Wall Street or whatever it is
Yeah.
that you had to be. And I think that's shifted today. I don't think the values of these millennials are the same as
Yeah.
we were. We were being pushed to perform and to outdo and to die for what you had to do and get
Yeah.
ahead and.
Well, we definitely have really hard work ethics. I mean,
Yeah.
I work 7 days a week. Every single morning of the day, I have to be at a class or a client or somewhere, like even on holidays. And every job I've ever had has always even been that way. Even when I gave up fitness full time and I did it part time, but I went to the news. Well, my degree's in TV, radio, film, journalism. So I went into journalism full time for a few years. I was still teaching fitness on the side, so I didn't have 2 days off. The 2 days off, I still worked at the gym while I was, doing anchor work and reporting for the TV channel and producing. And you always work on holidays. I mean, the news is on
That's it. There's no
Christmas, New
breaks.
Year's,
Right. Right.
whatever
I think
holiday.
like I was just a natural born businesswoman at 13. I was like selling Avon under one of the managers who allowed me to sell products and gave me a little commission. I'd go door to door. And then that grew into actually doing makeovers. And then I go to these women's homes on the weekends and give them makeup and hair. And, and I was doing this for fun. And I never knew what it was like really not to work because out of school, I went to my first job. I didn't take a break. I never really stopped working. It's kind of like I don't even know how to stop working.
Well, that brings us to a transition in this episode.
Right.
Because things are really, well, first let me just say I identify with that because I was brought up work harder, not smarter. Just work more.
Right. It's like you have to have the more hours you give,
It'll all pay off.
it'll all pay off.
Which is bullshit.
Which is like the millennials today. They're going to start having families much later. They're going to enjoy life and they're going to do things. They want to live. They don't
Yeah.
just want to work.
Yeah, exactly. And we should be learning how to work smarter, not harder. But that's not what my my grandparents who worked 7 days a week, and that's not what they taught me. They
Well,
just
my
taught me to
grandmother
work.
still wants to work, and
Well, they
she's
told me to marry
98.
someone rich. And then they also told me to work really hard. So I got really confused. So I was like, all right, well, I don't know how you just marry someone rich because, I have to want to sleep in a bed with them.
Yeah, I think my father would tell me just to make sure that I could always take care of myself and not to have to depend on anyone.
Yes, they said that to me too.
Right.
So I kind of went
Right.
that way.
Right.
But yeah, so speaking of these, you don't know how to not work. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's happening in the big transition of your
Yeah,
life?
I've been in the fashion industry since, I went to the equivalent of what's FIT or FIDM. It's a fashion school in Montreal. That's where I'm from. And right from there, I graduated and I went straight into the industry. And I've done every aspect of it from, the retail end I worked in stores also when I was in school. So I did all that. And then I worked as a buyer. And then I evolved and I got onto the wholesale end and, and eventually owned a brand. And now I'm getting out of it.
Can we talk about the brand?
Sure, we can talk about the
Okay,
brand.
I wasn't sure. She's very secretive.
Well, we bought the brand Halston, and it's a beautiful brand. It's still out there, and we just decided to, take a break basically and try something else. We've been doing it for 7 years, and It's hard for me because I don't know how to take a break.
Right.
And I'm doing podcasting and I'm still involved in, certain phase of this company that we're just going to eventually be out of. But it's kind of a fear for me. It's the first time in my life that I've actually not worked 9 to 5 in an office environment with a team.
Well, now that we're going to have to be marketing this podcast/vodcast, and we're going to have a website to manage and blogs that go along with it, and eventually we'll have, some products that we'll be mentioning and maybe
Right.
sponsored by, you're going to be working your ass off. I can tell you I do it now for my own personal brand.
But I am.
You're working your ass off.
You're right. But I hope I can work my ass off less days and have a few more days to myself because, like we were saying, we do need to take more care of ourselves at this age.
Yeah.
We can't deny that because if we let go, you will go.
Yeah.
And
we'll be talking about all the different ways, whether, some things may be a little more expensive, like something you do with your cosmetic surgeon, maybe like a little tuck here, a little nip or tweak there, or maybe a laser treatment or just a facial treatment. So we'll talk about, we've got a lot of guests coming up that are like doctors and cosmetic surgeons and
not everything works
doctors.
on everybody. So
Right.
what works great for you might not work great for me. And, so you have to really be experimental in things you try sometimes.
Yeah, so you'll be getting, we promise, audience, if you're listening, tell us what kind of tips you would like to get from us, anything that has to do with health, beauty, fitness, or fashion. Write your questions below this video, or if you're listening on a podcast, then you'll just send us an email. Once we get that email, we'll post it. We didn't set up an email yet because it's our first show.
That's our first show. And also, we'd like to hear your feedback if you have any suggestions of things you've tried, that you really rave about. Please feed us, help us educate everybody. We have to share. We women have to stick together.
Yeah, especially the older we get. And we made it through our 40s pretty unscathed. We are now into our uncharted territories of our early 50s, and it's freaking scary. That's another F word. 40s, 50s,
Yes.
fasting,
Yes.
fitness, fashion. The F words.
Fabulous and fine-tuned.
Yes.
I think, aren't we the generation with the bigger population right now? Like we're the growing population is our generation, and that's why, we have to be concerned about things like healthcare and, what's available for seniors down the road. Because,
well, as the baby boomers,
yeah, we're not
kick it.
The millennials aren't having these big families, they're
Yeah.
not, they're people are having less children, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we're becoming
We are the new baby boomers.
We're the dominant population, I think.
So you said we're Generation X.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I think so.
Well, I really liked the band. For anyone who remembers Gen X, the Billy Idol band,
right.
I like being Gen X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think Gen X is anybody that's born.
Ready, steady, go. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that was a Gen X song.
Right. I have to check my facts to make sure it's correct, but yeah, I believe we're Gen X.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gen
And does
X.
that mean like
issues.
X, like you're X'd out? Like, you get
Why
the
do
cut?
they call it Generation
I don't
X?
know. It
I don't
doesn't
even
sound so
know.
good. Like millennial sounds good. It's like young and hip and happening, and then you're like, you're Gen X. Go into the Xbox.
Yeah, what does that? What does? I don't remember. I remember I remember when the phrase came out. I guess we're kind of Gen Xers. I just think it's cool because, like I said, I was a big punk rocker in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about that. My God.
I was just a big punk rocker.
Such a different step of life for you because you look different. I mean, you look great. You had such great style, but you were genuinely punk.
Yeah.
Like
I don't think I had great style. I had an awful body back then.
you
I
mean
was
the
exactly
pink
opposite.
leopard miniskirt and the torn ripped fishnets.
Yeah. And I had the bouffant hairdo and the big black
bouffants,
cat eyes.
yeah.
It took me an hour and a half to get dressed every single morning. I was late for school every single day to
And
get my Catwoman eyes on, which comes back. Now you've got the cat eyes on.
Yeah,
but
a
I
little
wore the
Yeah, right. The Amy Winehouse.
yes.
Right.
That's what I did every
Yeah,
day. I don't know
right.
how she did it so fast, stoned and on heroin. Because I was stone cold sober in the morning and maybe had a glass of orange juice, and I'm sitting there like trying to get the
Well, that's why.
trying to get the
Because
things
you were
on.
too uptight. You needed a little bit of like crack or something in your life to loosen
I
up.
guess I needed to have been doing drugs because I spent and I'd be like, the bus is coming, and I couldn't get my makeup on, and then I'd have to ask my mom. I'd be embarrassed, like, can you take me to school? I missed my bus.
Oh, I used to be really quick at doing my eyes. I don't know, and I used to do bigger cat eyes too. But I really had a good technique that was fast. I'd melt down my little kohl eyeliner just a bit with a match, just
Yeah.
a bit so it got soft, and it would turn into, I didn't even know liquid liners existed. And then I'd use the coals, and they would just dry and set like tattoos.
Yeah, my friend Alicia taught me how to
Yeah.
do that. So Alicia, if you're watching, thank you.
And my eyesight was good. I didn't have glasses. I could see everything. It's not like today.
Yeah, I did not do it fast. It just took me a really long time. And then I had to get the cat eyes that came all the way into the nose because
Oh
I had
my
to come
gosh.
down part
Yeah,
of my nose.
right.
Yeah, so it just took me a long
That
time.
is so cool.
Every single day, I wouldn't walk out of the house without it. Now, if you ask me to put makeup on, I'm like,
That's true. But you know what? You had to carry your base with you and your books and and you took the subway. I mean, you were like a diehard.
I was.
You know?
But you don't know any better when that's where you
Yeah,
grow up. I grew
yeah.
up in New York City, so yeah, you don't know any better.
Did you play in some good clubs there and stuff? And
Yes, you know,
CBGB or
I went to
know?
CBGB's.
really
Yes,
cool.
I definitely hung out there. A lot of my friends did, but there was a really cool club called The Dive, which there we have a Facebook group, and a bunch of us that all used to hang out there together. All see each other on Facebook, and every once in a while, a picture of me playing my pink bass materializes.
Well, weren't you friends with some like very famous musicians?
Well, my friend Adam was very, very good friends with Johnny Ramone. So I got to go. Well, I met them backstage at a Ramones concert because my best friend and I used to, at 14, sit outside and like for hours to be the first online and like wait till the roadies came in and see if we can like snag a backstage pass or something. So we'd be out there from like 2:00 and doors would open at 8.
Wow.
So we'd spend the whole day out there.
Wow.
Like the movie Rock and Roll High
Right,
School. That was
yeah.
our life. Yeah.
Wow, super cool.
So I was just checking to make sure the camera was still recording.
Yeah, I thought it clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got backstage to a concert when we were 14, and I made friends with this guy Adam, and he was really good friends with the Ramones. And then I got to hang out with the Ramones a bunch of times, and that made me really happy because they were my favorite band of all time.
And you're like a really core New Yorker, but where did you grow up in New York? Like your childhood?
I was born in Manhattan, and then we moved to Queens when my mom got married to her third husband.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And then that was a little bit closer. I didn't see my dad that much, but he moved out to Manhasset, which was just past Queens. And he married his fourth wife, and they moved just a few miles to the east of us. So if I wanted to see him, I could see him more often, but we weren't too close.
So when you let go of your musician dreams and your punk band fantasies that, that you grew out of or that you realized you had to get a real job, you went into television, broadcasting, or...
I just did music because I love music. I never really
Well,
thought
you
I
look
was
really
gonna be
good. I mean, I'm sure you have to show us some pictures.
I was awful. I was not
I'd
a
love
good,
to show those pictures.
I
that
was
you have.
so we should tell everyone that you and your husband play in a band.
Yeah, me too.
You play bass, so you have taken
I
over.
started up much later in life.
Yeah, but you are actually a better bass player than I was.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, you
doubt
definitely
it.
are.
That
I
thing is
watch you.
so heavy. Who would know that thing is so heavy?
I do. That's why when I would play on stage, I used a much lighter bass. I used this little small version of this. It was called a Fender Mustang, so
Oh,
it was
yeah.
lighter, so you
Right.
can move around more
Yeah.
and not hurt my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are now the musician of the duo here.
Yeah, well, yeah. But that's like garage band stuff compared to you going out there and,
Well, we were garage band, just playing at garage band clubs.
So what did you do after that?
So then I went to so that was high school and college, and then I went to Boston, and I studied TV, radio, film, and mass communications, and I majored in television broadcast journalism,
And that's...
and I did some radio.
You did some television.
As you can tell from my voice.
Yeah, you're very,
I did some radio.
throaty.
I was a blues DJ in Boston.
Wow.
Yes.
Are you one of those sultry women at night like, hey, everybody, it's...
No, it was Saturday afternoon.
I like those women at
But it was
night
Boston,
that have
so
that,
people were getting their, it
you
was
know-
Boston. People were getting their drink on.
Oh, yeah, well, don't they start there at like 9 a.m. or something?
Oh yeah. There were a lot of drunk people. Like, yeah, play some muddy waters.
And then you were in Colorado for a short stint.
Yeah, that was in 2000 to 2002. I did news full time there and fitness part time.
Wow.
But so I moved out to LA to work in production. I was actually going to go to school for physical therapy, but the only school for physical therapy in New York was in Buffalo, which is the suicide capital of the state, next to Ithaca. So it was
Who
the
ever
two.
knew that?
Yeah, Ithaca and Buffalo, the two really high suicide areas of Boston. And I was a highly depressed teenager.
Oh.
And I thought, I can't live where suicide is kind of a thing. living.
Right.
I said, get me to the sunshine, the healthy food.
Yeah.
And then
Already with the climate. Yeah.
and let's bring this full circle. So remember that genetic test I did?
Yeah.
Okay, so it turns out that my low levels of vitamin D also cause depression. So
Oh,
hello.
that's true. That's what they say.
Yep, they
right?
found that out.
Right.
And so since I've had my vitamin D under control, no more depression. It's crazy.
So how do you think, like, I'm going out on a limb here, Eskimos manage not to get depressed?
How do you know they weren't depressed?
Well, they don't get a lot of sunlight. They live in a very harsh climate most of the year, and then, I mean, their winters, they get like 3 hours of sunlight in the peak of winter.
Well, vitamin D deficiency is usually genetic, and they have darker skin, so they retain more vitamin D, is my guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try that 23andMe thing then, because I haven't tried it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't
Yes.
have a lot of, you already know the one thing that you have a predisposition for is high blood pressure.
Right.
So that's no surprise. You
That's
already know
genetic.
that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you might just find out I just found out some really interesting stuff. Like, I don't need as much coffee as the average person.
Wow.
A half a cup of coffee gets me like over the.
Well, you're already wired.
Yeah, like I
naturally.
get naturally
Yeah.
wired, and so
Yeah.
and this is a genetic predisposition. It's called a SNP, or a single nucleotide polymorphism,
Right.
is a SNP,
Wow.
and so that's like you're in sort of like this special class of like weird things as a SNP. So I have this weird thing, this polymorphism that makes me not need a lot of coffee, and that is a little genetic defect.
So what brought you out to LA?
Well, so after I went to film school, I knew I wanted to live in LA because of the sunshine and the healthy living. And I thought, oh, I'll get a lot less depressed here. I actually had a friend who said, it's hard to get depressed when you see the sunshine every day. And I was like, I'm moving to LA.
Yeah.
Good idea. I was in high school when this guy said this. And I was like, that is a brilliant idea. So I made sure to get my major in something where I could get a job in LA. So I moved out here and I started working in production, but I kept getting fat.
Why?
Because you sit for long periods of
Oh,
time,
yeah.
you're under a lot of stress, and you eat craft service.
Yeah, that's really tempting.
Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
eating a lot of bad food, and I didn't know anything about nutrition when I was like 22,
Right.
23 when I moved out here.
Right.
And I learned, obviously, a lot. I've been focused on nutrition the last 10 years, and I've been in fitness for 27 years.
Did you like LA when you moved at the beginning, or was it an adjustment?
It's a definite adjustment,
Right.
but again, I knew I was coming here for the weather and healthier food and people who work out every day.
Yeah.
So I mean, I loved it. This was the lifestyle. I wanted to make a 180, and it was a complete 180 for me to live in LA compared to the lifestyle I lived in New York and Boston.
But New York is such a walking city and LA is such a driving city. So it's kind of contrast because you come to LA thinking it's a healthier lifestyle and then you spend most of your day driving around in traffic. And then in New York, you're walking, 30, 40 blocks or whatever you want to walk, and you're taking subways and, so you're actually getting more exercise just from daily life, just like I did in Montreal, with the weather conditions and, you have to, get out of the snow with your car and you've got to shovel it out. And there's always something fun to do.
Yeah.
In LA, you get too comfortable. So you really have to push yourself.
I
Because
find Canadians are like Coloradans because I lived in
Right,
Colorado for 2
yeah.
years. Yeah, you're a lot more physically active.
you are, because you have 4 seasons and there really are truly
Yeah.
4 seasons and you're constantly adjusting. So I don't know if you really have time to get that depressed with the weather. I mean, today I do, because now I'm so used to seeing the sun every day and I think it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm happy the sun is out. But, you were too busy. You were
Yes.
too busy dealing with the weather changes.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'll tell you, this is how I felt about New York. I thought it was a big pain in the ass schlep to have to carry my stuff, wait at the bus station, wait at the train station, wait at the subway station, because, you had to take, city transportation all over the place. You have to walk down, you have to smell a bunch of piss and urine. 5 years old, I had to walk
Yum.
over bums that were sleeping in front of my, drunk,
Right.
with their,
Right.
with their crap hanging out, literally their crap hanging out.
Oh my God.
And it was stinky back then in those days in New York. And subways, trains, buses, and waiting. It was a big schlep. And it still took you, maybe it takes you half the time to travel the same distance in New York as it does in LA, because it could take you an hour to travel 5 miles here.
God.
But the difference was in LA, I could do it in a car, listening to the radio, or putting on a podcast
In nice weather.
in nicer weather, and I can have stuff in the seat next to me. I can have a snack and not smell someone who smells like piss. So I actually was looking forward to, I'd rather, if I'm going to sit around in traffic, which is frustrating for most people, and we certainly had it in New York too,
Yeah.
really badly, but I would rather do it in the comfort of a car than like be schlepping through the rain and the wind and the
But what gets me
snow.
about LA is when I first moved here, they would say storm watch, and I was expecting something like, what, are we getting a blizzard or are we getting ice, freezing rain or whatever? And it would be a drizzle. And they'd have storm watch, and people would be having accidents everywhere,
That's
like
right.
more than you would have in the greatest snowstorm in
Okay,
Montreal.
well, out of defense for the LA roads, the reason why is because it rains so little here. When it does rain just a little bit, the oil rises to the surface.
Right.
So it does make it more. It's not. Everyone's like, "Oh, LA has awful drivers,"
Right.
because there's a little drizzle and there's car crashes everywhere.
Listen, I'm a really good driver. I can drive through any snowstorm in, multiple feet of snow and plow through it with my car and, fix a flat tire in the middle of a blizzard. But when I was driving in LA once, I didn't realize the oil came up
Yeah.
like that. And I actually spun out turning onto a ramp to the highway.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that LA drivers are that bad. It's just that the road conditions, when there's just a little bit of moisture, brings the oil to the surface.
Really does. It's
it makes
slick.
it
It's like black ice.
Black ice. It's
Yeah.
exactly like black ice.
Unbelievable.
And you just don't realize it.
Right.
Yeah. So we love LA.
We do.
All right. So for our first inaugural episode, are there any other topics? We have so many great topics lined up.
We do. I mean, I don't want to give away all our goodies at once. I mean, I do want to talk about something that's pissing us off this week because I think that'd be kind of fun.
All right. What's pissing you off this week?
What's pissing me off this week? The dryness
Oh, your skin?
in my skin. My skin is like a lizard, and it doesn't matter what I could put my head in a bucket of oil, take it out, and within an hour I'll be dry like as if I've never put anything on my skin.
Yeah, it's weird for me too because after in my 40s, late 40s, is when my oily skin suddenly turned into dry skin.
Me too. I never had that problem when I first moved here in my 30s and my 40s. I didn't even know what people were talking about. What dryness? I thought it was great that there was no humidity, no dampness, no other things. And now it's just, oh my God.
I thought it was great that my makeup stayed on longer without primer because I didn't know about primer till my late 40s.
Yeah, I didn't.
I just thought it was like an extra thing that you had to buy. I thought it was such a freaking scam.
Please, I didn't even put skin cream on my face.
Oh, well, you have beautiful skin. Like for me, what I realized is that primer is a thing and everyone needs primer under any kind of makeup. Now, if I know that I'm only putting on like tinted moisturizer, even if it's like, SPF 35, I still will put a little primer on underneath so it holds it on my
You
skin.
feel it does hold it better?
Absolutely.
I feel it feels just cakey on my skin. It just feels heavy.
I put it on today.
Wow.
Under
Yeah, you
my
look
under
good.
my SPF
Right.
40 tinted moisturizer.
Wow. And I like tinted moisturizer better than foundation.
Yeah.
I was never a foundation girl, but now I feel like I'm wearing foundation more, and I'm mixing it with my tinted moisturizer because I find foundation, no matter what formulation you get, it's still drying. It's very dry here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. And then in the summer, it's very, very greasy. So there's like a combination of like super dry. In Montreal in the winters, you get chapped lips, really dry skin, but not dry like here. Here, the dryness is like really in your epidermal layer. In Montreal, there was still moisture.
Fancy. The dryness is in your
You
epidermal.
like that? I'm so
In your
educated.
epidermal.
But
Stick that in your epidermal.
yeah. Up your epidermal.
Up your epidermal, bitch.
But I find like, still with the snow and everything, it retained a lot of moisture because the snow is water. It's still, here it's just dry. You got the desert next door.
Yeah.
And you got this, what they call the Santa Ana winds, which just brings in all that dust. And
Well, LA is technically a desert climate.
it is a desert climate.
But where I lived in Colorado, which was they call it the Western Slope, it
Mm-hmm.
is the high desert. So it's worse because you're at 3,500 to 4,000
that's
foot
terrible.
elevation.
Yeah.
So you're closer to the the sun.
Scun.
Yeah. The scuzzy sun. You're closer to the sun, so you have more SPF damage, or what do you call it? The more sun damage.
Right.
So you have to wear stronger SPF all the
Right,
time.
right.
In the western side of Colorado, and because it's not like Denver where you're going through these beautiful forests. It's not like Aspen.
Right.
It is a high desert, and it was awful. The people's skin is
Was there a lot of vegetation? Is it dense?
no, it's desert.
It's
But I will
completely
tell you
desert.
this in Colorado. So if you're a Coloradan, please write in and give us what your tips are
Right.
for skin. Because I did this when I was a news reporter. I did a story about how every 1,000 feet you are above sea level, and Denver's at 5,000 feet, you have a 10% greater chance of getting skin cancer. 10%.
Oh my
For every
God.
1,000 feet
Who would have
above.
thought that?
Yeah. So you have a 50% chance of getting skin cancer
More
up
so
there.
than our surfers here?
That I don't know. I wasn't doing the news in LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's my bitch fest of the week is this dryness. And listen, like in the East Coast, they turn up the heating, so you're getting dry in the house because it's so bitter cold outside.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that. But I still feel like, and with the aging too, you lose moisture. You feel dry. You feel, when your skin feels really tight. It's like when you wash your face with a soap bar and then you take off you rinse it and you don't put any moisturizer, that tight feeling.
Yeah,
It's like
well, that's why we don't use face bars.
No, oil or
I
whatever.
stopped using Ivory when I was about
Ivory
15.
or oil of Olay or Dove soap, which I used to love Dove soap.
Yeah,
I can't do
I
that
stopped
anymore.
using that when I was about 15. Well, I mean, we are drying up. You just ask my eggs.
Yeah, what about your eggs?
My eggs they're cracking.
Are they cracked?
They're just, you ever boil eggs for too long?
And they're like,
they get a little brown and they crack on the edges. Yeah. So I actually, by accident, one morning I was trying to take some eggs with me in my car because I was going to be gone for like 14 straight hours, and so I boiled eggs in the morning, and then I totally forgot about them. So as I'm walking out the door, I'm like, oh shit, they've been sitting here for 45 minutes boiling, and I looked inside. I'm like, yep, definitely Jill's eggs. And I'm sure mine look just like that. A little brown.
Oh my God.
A little cracked with some stuff oozing out.
Thank you for the visual. So,
Yeah.
Jill, what's your bitch of the week?
I don't really have a bitch of the week.
You have to. Everybody has a bitch of the week. We're women. We bitch every day. You don't have one particular thing.
Yeah, it's because it's an awful thing to be bitchy about. My bitch of the week is that I just had one of those weeks where everybody wants me this week. Like
Oh,
I know. How can I complain about that? I mean, it's like I've got more people want to train with me right now than I can actually fit into my schedule. I'm talking to some studios, want me to maybe do some work there, possibly.
So you're feeling overwhelmed with your popularity and your in-demand status.
So that what I'm bitching about is I want to be focused on this podcast and helping all of the women and giving them all the advice we can.
Right.
I really want to focus on this project
Right.
110%.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this past week, it's like, boom, can you do this? Boom, can you do that? Boom, can you
But
do
that
that?
always happens when you have something planned. All shit, gets loose because
Yeah.
you all of a sudden it's quiet. You figure you have the time, and all of a sudden it just gets chaotic.
When it rains, it pours, I believe is that saying.
Yes, exactly. But it's also like that when you're like, when it's just when you think you're going to have a calm week and then everything comes at you one after, or when you're having a really bad week and then it just gets doused with all these added things.
Yeah. So so it's nothing. I'll think about much more stuff to bitch about for our next episode.
Okay.
But right now it's just, wow, how am I going to fit everything in right now? But we will, because this is what we want to do. So people out there, whatever your issues are in your 40s and 50s, please tell us some
And your
topics.
60s and your 70s. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah, tell us some topics that you're interested in us talking about, and if we have insight and expertise, we will share and share and share. Even though Tata's a little more secretive than me, but I'll tell you everything that I've done for my skin, everything that I've done for my hair, everything, I'll tell you how I shave.
My grandmother, who's 98, I give her skin tips and everything because she's still looking for that miracle anti-aging cream at her age.
I do know the Miracle, which is legit. So we'll talk about this
Okay.
when we do our beauty secrets.
Right.
But I'll just leave this last little one for anyone who's listening right now. Is you use alpha hydroxy acid first,
Okay.
and then you put Retin-A over that.
Oh my God,
And
my
the-
skin would just.
Right, if you have strong enough skin. I mean,
Yeah.
ask your skin doctor about it first. But that has been for me like the saving grace. I use a glycolic acid, toner. And then I put the Retin-A on it, and then my face turns bright red, so it's scary at first. I look like a tomato. And then I wake up in the morning, and it's like, ah.
Is that amazing? Oh my God. I tried to use the retinol A and retina A. And it
Wait,
just.
Retin-A or retinol? Because retinol is the non-prescription. Retin-A is the prescription.
Yes, I had both.
Okay.
And they just gave me very elephant-like skin, very reddish and very irritated, but it just got worse and worse throughout the day.
It never got better.
I just couldn't tolerate it anymore.
Okay.
And I know that there's a period where you have to get over that, and I tried it. I tried it for 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
my skin on my neck was getting really worse and super itchy all night long, and it was getting oozy.
Well, let's get everybody to share what their favorite
Yeah.
skin regimes are, and we'll talk about all of them. So if we
Yeah.
get your feedback, we'll mention some of the viewers and listeners what they do. And especially if you live in Colorado and you found something, I really want to hear, because they
There you
have the one thing I have to say. When I lived in Colorado, I was 35. and and I worked with a bunch of young kids because it was a very low paying station. And all the kids I worked with were like 23, 24, 25. And they'd say, well, how old are you? 29, 30? They thought I was a little bit older than them. Because people who live in Colorado, they look 10 years older because their skin gets so dry.
That's crazy. I would have thought that'd be more like Arizona or
Probably Arizona too. But
what about our Midwest friends? Like, they have a tough climate to deal with. They get really harsh winters.
That's true, but it's not, because there's a lot of storms, there's a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
Like, my fiance is from Iowa.
Right.
Oh my God, worst weather I've ever seen in my life. But it's humid.
Yeah, no. I mean, the thing is that they just have to crank up the heat. So it's the indoor dryness that's actually aging you.
True.
Not so much the outdoor climate.
Where in Colorado or in Colorado or Denver, it's actually the outdoor, and they're very outdoorsy people,
Right.
and that really destroys their skin.
Right.
So that's why it was really fascinating topic for me to do research on for those couple of stories I did on it.
Because technically the cold preserves, right?
Well, their eggs probably last longer than mine. Because mine get a little roasted here. So maybe their eggs last longer, but their skin does not. That I could tell you. I definitely have better skin after leaving Colorado.
Wow.
But I was only there for 2 years, so
Right.
and I was only in my 30s. So
Wow.
yeah. All right. Well, I think that's enough for our first
That's
episode.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have so many more topics. So in the next episode, what should we talk about?
We're going to talk about, maybe we'll talk about cellulite,
Oh,
a big
yeah.
issue.
Cellulite, which is the other reason we got together.
I call it cellufrite.
Cellulite. Okay. So our next episode, we'll discuss cellulite, other things that piss me off.
You'll find something. You'll have your turn at it this time.
I will take notes on everything that pisses me off. I mean, is my boyfriend allowed to be the topic? Because on a weekly basis, that pisses me off.
Your dog can be the topic. It's whatever pisses you off.
No, my dog never pisses me off. My
Oh.
boyfriend often does.
Well, that comes with the territory,
Okay, because we can definitely do a bitch fest
Yeah,
on our significant
absolutely.
others on a day that they're nowhere near.
Yeah. Make sure they never see it or
We'll
hear
make sure
it.
we'll make sure we put that episode on private on YouTube. All right, so we are the fine-tuned females.
Yes, we are. And come back and listen to what we have to say and give us your feedback. We are all ears. We want to hear it.
Yep, and we are here to give you any advice you need. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.